Joining me now is my good friend Mike Triplett of the TimesPicayune.NOLA.com, and let's start off with the mindset of this team as they get into training camp mode. It was one of confusion and unfamiliarity last year with the whole bounty thing going on, but now this preseason there seems to be a great air of focus and determination. Am I right?
Well, yeah, a lot of good words you could say. Comfort, level of comfort, and familiarity, but also eagerness, excitement. I was talking to a few players. We had access to players at a charity basketball game last week, and a lot of them said the same thing. They got the rah-rah negative energy speech out of the way on the first day, and it's all been positive energy since. But I think just the fact that last year is over and this year's begun. I mean, it reminds me a lot of the attitude when we'd go talk to these players that year. They were practicing at Tulane during the lockout. They were just so eager to get on the field and move past all the other stuff. I really got to think from whatever intangible value that has, the Saints have it going for them right now.
Well, Sean Payton's back. That's got to have a lot to do with it. But then there was the whole thing with Drew Brees' contract.
Yeah.
There were so many things going on last year.
Yeah, and the team, they said all the right things, and I actually thought they'd be more successful than they were. But NFL teams really crave their routines. They don't like to be trying to make up for something that's unfamiliar to them, and I think we in the end saw maybe a lot of people trying to do too much, trying too hard. This year that won't be the case. This year it'll be more. I mean, whether they'll win or lose remains to be seen, but it'll be based on it won't be based on those outside factors.
Well, we were both at the same charity game. Big changes happen to every team every season. It's way too early to tell what this team's personality is going to look like. But do you think they have the personnel to fit what they want to do at this stage of the game?
Without question. Now, defense is a huge question mark. It'll be fun to watch, and it can only be better than what it was last year. Mm-hmm. But I'm probably I probably overreach about how good I think the Saints are going to be because, like I said, I thought the same thing last year. But I can't shake. This offense has been very good for a long time. In 2011, they were the best offense in NFL history, and Darren Sproles, Jimmy Graham, pieces that they hadn't even had before, plus Marcus Colston and Lance Moore, plus Pierre Thomas and Mark Ingram, Drew Brees, Sean Payton. I just can't believe that this won't go right back to being one of the one or two best offenses in the NFL with a decent defense. And we've seen for years that that's good enough to win 11 or 13 games, depending on if the Saints get hot or not.
Well, you had a piece in the paper today talking about Mark Ingram, and a healthy Mark Ingram for once. So that's got to be a big deal.
Well, a lot of things, and he really, I forget how passionate fans are, both pro and con, when it comes to Mark Ingram. But I won't necessarily predict a breakout year for him. I actually think, if anything, I think Darren Sproles could be the biggest benefactor of a return to normalcy. And I've always thought Pierre Thomas is so underrated. So, I might even rank Mark Ingram, third behind those guys. But I think all three of those guys should have really good years. The fact that Chris Ivory's been traded, that, really Mark Ingram started to look really good toward the end of last year. He had 424 yards over the last 8 games, 4 touchdowns over a full season. That's 850 yards. You take Chris Ivory out of the mix. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility to think that either him or Pierre Thomas could be a 1,000-yard back in this offense, and they're going to be committed to the run. So I think all three of those running backs are going to have much better years than they did last year.
Now let's talk about the defensive side of the ball, Trip. The new 3-4 defense, Rob Ryan's coming in. There's going to be a great deal of competition, especially as you wrote earlier, the defensive backfield.
Yeah, and they obviously, this is one of the things that we'll look forward to talking to Rob Ryan about is they've obviously come in with a plan to just collect defensive backs. They went out, and it was the first 2 visits they had in free agency were defensive backs, and they added Keenan Lewis at corner. Then they go out and continue to pursue Nnamdi Asomugha, Tracy Porter. Then in the first round of the draft, they get another safety, Kenny Vaccaro. There's a clear plan in place, which is that they want a lot of defensive backs. I think they want the depth. I think they want the versatility. I think they want to be able to match up with a variety of different offenses. But, they're going to change a lot of things up front too, but there's no doubt they wanted to be stacked in the defensive backfield. So it's competition, but I think there's going to be room on the field for all those guys.
Well, the team had a change of heart this past weekend as far as the rookie minicamp was concerned. It was going to be open to us, then it wasn't. Is that just a matter of the team being focused and wanting to get right back on program and to stick with it from day one?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think bringing the media in for one day would have knocked them off focus. We'll be there again in, I think, 10 days from now at the first OTA. So I'm not sure exactly what it was that led to it. It just said coach's decision. But it's something we're familiar with. We have not, the rookie minicamp is not usually open to the media. We're kind of surprised when this one was going to be open.
Okay. When the smoke clears with the 2013 Saints, and I know it's way too early, as you mentioned, OTAs not for another 10 days, is this team going to be better than the 7-9 edition and closer to the one that we saw in 2011, which I personally think may have been one of the Saints' best teams ever?
I think that was the best, and last year was the worst. So I will go out on a limb and say somewhere in between the two. No, but closer to the 13-win team than the 7-win team, I think. But probably, right. I mean, tough schedule. Deep division, it's hard to say that 10-11 win area, that's where the close games that make or break you, I mean, I would probably be surprised if they don't reach 10 wins, though, this season, and wouldn't be surprised at all to see them, be right back to being another 12-win team that wins the NFC South. But I would think they are at least a serious playoff contender, and then we've known from watching the Saints in years, that can fall a number of different ways,
Yeah, must-win game day one, right?
Yeah, well, you're not kidding.
Atlanta.
A home run against Atlanta in week 1 and off to the races.
All right, Mike Triplett, TimesPicayune, NOLA.com. Thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate it.